Aries, if today feels heavier than it should, if something inside you keeps whispering, "This can't stay the same," this message is for you. Not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for too long in the wrong direction. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here as a friend who recognizes that look in your eyes, the one that says you already know the truth, even if you haven't said it out loud yet. Take a slow breath with me. Just one. Notice what your body tightens around when you think about this week. If this resonates, you can quietly drop a fire in the comments, just to mark that you showed up for yourself today. Let me ask you something, Aries. What if the discomfort you're feeling isn't a warning, but a signal that you're finally ready? Stay with me. We're about to step into the part of the story where things begin to make sense. And that's the part people don't see about you, Aries. They see the fire. They see the decisiveness. They see how you can walk into a room and shift the temperature without saying a word. But what they don't notice is how quiet pressure can wear you down in a way that loud chaos never could. Because this isn't the kind of week where life slams a door in your face. It's the kind of week where you realize you've been holding a door open with your shoulder for a long time, and you can't remember when it started hurting. Here's something I've learned about you, about Aries energy, when it's mature and honest. You don't fear hard things. You fear wasting your heart on things that keep asking for more, but never truly meet you. And that's why this feels strange, not dramatic, not explosive, just off. Like you're wearing a version of your life that used to fit perfectly, and suddenly the seams are tight. It's not that the fabric got worse, it's that you grew. There's a very human moment that happens right before a necessary change. It's not a breakthrough. It's not a sign in the sky. It's you standing in the kitchen, maybe late, maybe tired, staring at something ordinary, and thinking, "I can't keep pretending this is enough." No one applauds that moment, but it's one of the bravest moments there is. So let me say this in the simplest way, as your friend. If you've been feeling irritated for no reason, if little things are getting under your skin, that's not you becoming difficult. That's your spirit asking for honesty. Because when you're aligned, Aries, you're generous, you're playful, you're direct in a clean way. But when you're misaligned, when you're living in a space that slowly drains you, you start negotiating with yourself. You start shrinking your truth so the day goes smoother. And it works until it doesn't. Soft question for you. No pressure, no performance. What are you tolerating right now that you wouldn't want someone you love to tolerate? Just sit with that. No action yet. No big speech. Just notice what comes up in your chest when you ask it. And if you can, try one small inner move today. Take a slower breath than you think you need. Then tell yourself, quietly, "I don't have to solve everything today. I just have to stop lying to myself." Because the change that's necessary isn't always a dramatic exit. Sometimes it's a private decision, a boundary you finally respect. A choice to stop pouring energy into a place that keeps returning you to survival. Stay close. There's a reason this pressure is rising now, and in the next moment, we're going to name what it's really pointing to. And here's the part that's easy to misunderstand, Aries. The pain you're feeling right now isn't a sign that something is going wrong. It's the sensation of outgrowing a shape you stayed inside longer than you should have. You didn't fail at it. You didn't misjudge it. You simply became bigger than what once fit, and that moment always hurts. There's a quiet grief in realizing that a version of you who survived beautifully is no longer the version who can live honestly. And for someone like you, that realization cuts deep because you don't walk away lightly. When you commit with your whole chest. You stay. You try harder. You tell yourself you can carry a little more weight until your body starts speaking first. Maybe it shows up as restlessness you can't shake, or that tight feeling when you wake up before the day has even begun, or the way you snap at small things, then sit there wondering why you're suddenly so tired of being fine. That's not weakness. That's intelligence. Just not the kind we're taught to listen to. I've noticed this about Aries energy when it matures. Your intuition doesn't shout. It applies pressure, slowly, consistently, like a hand on your back that keeps saying, forward, even when your mind is still negotiating reasons to stay. And here's something very human. No astrology language, no cosmic framing. Just truth. Most people don't resist change because they don't want something better. They resist it because they're loyal to the effort they already spent. You gave time, you gave patience, you gave benefit of the doubt. Walking away or stepping differently can feel like erasing all of that. Like admitting it didn't work, but that's not what's happening here. What's happening is quieter and braver. You're acknowledging that something meaningful can still be complete without continuing. I remember sitting in my car once, engine off, nowhere urgent to be, and thinking, I don't hate my life. I just don't recognize myself in it anymore. That moment didn't come with clarity. It came with sadness and relief. At the same time, that's the kind of pain this is. It's the ache of honesty landing in your body before your language catches up. Your nervous system already knows you've been stretching past what's natural. Your emotions picked up the signal months ago. You just kept moving because you're good at moving. So let me ask you something gently, not to push you, just to let the truth breathe for a second. If nothing external changed, how long could you realistically keep living this version of your life without resenting yourself? You don't have to answer that out loud. Just notice what your body does when you hear it. Notice if there's a soft exhale or a tightening. Both are information. If you want something small to do right now, nothing dramatic, try this. Put one hand on your chest, feel the weight of it, and tell yourself, I'm not broken, I'm just growing. Because the pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to tell you the truth with enough intensity that you finally listen. And once you do, something inside you starts to steady. And this is usually where you start bargaining with yourself, Aries. Not out loud, not dramatically, just quietly in the background of your days. You tell yourself you can hold on a little longer, that it's not that bad, that timing matters, and maybe next week, or after this one thing settles, it will feel easier. You're exceptionally good at this, by the way. Endurance has always been one of your hidden skills. People mistake your fire for impulsiveness, but the truth is, you can tolerate discomfort far longer than most, especially when you believe there's meaning in it. And that's what makes this phase so tricky. Because resistance for you doesn't look like panic. It looks like competence. It looks like showing up anyway. It looks like smiling through conversations that drain you, finishing tasks you no longer believe in, and staying steady while something inside you quietly checks out. Here's the honest part, one human to another. I've said those same sentences you're saying now, sitting alone, half exhausted, convincing myself I was being patient, when really, I was just hoping the discomfort would fade on its own. It didn't. And I don't say that to scare you. I say it because resistance isn't a failure of courage. It's often a sign of misplaced loyalty. You stay loyal to what was, because it once mattered. Because walking away feels disrespectful to the effort you poured in. Because you don't want to become someone who gives up. But there's a difference, one we don't talk about enough, between giving up and giving yourself permission to stop bleeding quietly. For Aries, resistance has a particular flavor. You don't collapse under it. You tighten your jaw. You move faster. You distract yourself with motion, action, productivity. You tell yourself you're being strong. And in many ways, you are. But strength without truth slowly turns inward. That's when irritation starts leaking out sideways. That's when your patience shortens, not because you've become harsher, but because you're tired of betraying your own instincts. That's when even good things stop feeling satisfying, because they are happening in a life that no longer feels like yours. There's a subtle moment in this phase that almost everyone misses. It's when you realize you're no longer afraid of change. You're afraid of admitting that you want it. Wanting change means acknowledging that staying costs you something real. And for someone as proud and capable as you, that admission can feel heavier than the change itself. So let me ask you something gently, without pushing. If you weren't trying to be brave, what would your honest answer be right now? Just notice it. You don't have to act on it. You don't have to explain it to anyone. And if your chest tightens when you hear that question, that's okay. That's not a sign you're doing this wrong. It's a sign you're touching something true. Try this small inner shift. No drama, no declarations. The next time you catch yourself thinking just a little longer, pause and ask, longer for who? Sometimes resistance isn't about timing at all. Sometimes it's the last place we hide before we're ready to be honest with ourselves. And when that honesty starts to surface, the story doesn't collapse. It begins to clarify. And then there's the moment that doesn't announce itself, Aries. No drama, no explosion, just a quiet click inside you, like something finally locking into place. It's not new information. That's the unsettling part. You've known this truth for a while. You just kept it slightly out of focus, like a window you didn't want to clean because you weren't sure you'd like the view afterward. But this week, something shifts. Not outside of you, inside. You're going through your day, maybe doing something ordinary, something you've done 100 times, and suddenly the effort it takes to keep pretending feels heavier than the effort it would take to stop. And in that instant, the truth doesn't feel dramatic. It feels plain, almost calm. I can't keep living like this. No accusation, no self-blame, just clarity. That's usually how real truth arrives. Not as a scream, but as a sentence your body has been rehearsing for months. Here's what I want you to hear, as someone speaking to you honestly, not mythically. This moment doesn't mean you were wrong before. It means you were loyal longer than most people would have been. Aries, you don't abandon things easily. When you stay with conviction. You give things room to improve. You believe effort should count for something, and it does. It always does. But effort doesn't mean obligation forever. There's a very human grief that comes with realizing you've outgrown a life that once made sense. It's the grief of acknowledging that your past self did the best they could, and that version of you deserves respect, not continuation. I remember realizing this once, not in a moment of courage, but in a moment of exhaustion. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was just done arguing with myself. That's when I knew the truth had settled in. That's the energy around you now. Not urgency, not panic, resolution beginning to form. And here's where the story quietly turns. When you stop trying to unsee the truth, your nervous system starts to relax. Even before anything changes, something inside you steadies because the inner conflict ends. You're no longer split between what you feel and what you pretend to feel. Let me ask you something gently. No pressure to answer, just to notice. If you allowed yourself to fully accept what you already know, what would you stop doing immediately? Pay attention to the first response, not the polished one. If you can, try a small inner act of honesty today. Nothing visible. Nothing performative, just this. When the thought comes up, the one you usually push away, don't correct it. Don't soften it. Let it finish its sentence, because once a truth is fully seen, it doesn't chase you anymore. It waits. And right now, Aries, that truth isn't here to rush you. It's here to orient you. From here on, the story doesn't move faster. It moves clearer. And clarity is where real strength begins to take shape. And once the truth settles, Aries, something else begins to happen. Something quieter, heavier, and strangely grounded. You stop asking whether change will make you happy. That question loses its urgency. Because at this point, happiness feels like the wrong metric, too bright, too far ahead, almost irrelevant. What starts to matter instead is relief. Not relief as in joy, but relief as in no longer leaking yourself out through 1,000 small compromises. This is the part people rarely talk about. The moment when a decision forms, not from excitement, but from self-respect, finally catching up. You don't wake up feeling lighter. You don't suddenly feel brave. If anything, there's a dull weight in your chest, like you've picked up something solid and real, and now you have to carry it. That's how you know it's necessary. Because this choice isn't trying to give you a rush. It's trying to stop the slow drain. There's an old version of you, one that learned how to stay composed while slowly disappearing. That version was useful. It got you through things. It kept you functioning. But it also learned to ignore the cost. And the cost has been subtle. You've been waking up already tired. You've been needing more recovery time from things that used to energize you. You've been less generous, not because you're colder, but because you're protecting what little you have left. That's not a personality flaw. That's a system that's been running past capacity. Here's a very human confession. No polish, no mysticism. I once made a decision like this knowing it would make my life harder in the short term. More awkward conversations, more explaining. More silence where there used to be noise. And I remember thinking, why does the right choice feel so heavy? Later I realized something important. The weight wasn't regret. It was integrity settling back into place. For Aries, this kind of break isn't dramatic. It's internal. It's the moment you stop arguing with your own worth. You don't announce it. You don't justify it. You simply stop giving away energy where it isn't met. And yes, there's discomfort, because your nervous system has been trained to equate endurance with strength. So when you stop enduring, part of you feels like you're doing something wrong. But listen closely. That feeling isn't guilt. It's unfamiliarity. You're getting reacquainted with your original self-respect, the kind that doesn't need approval to stand upright. Soft question for you. Just to let it echo for a second. What would change if you stopped trying to be reasonable with things that quietly diminish you? You don't have to act on that yet. Just notice how your body responds when you imagine choosing yourself without explanation. If you want one small anchor right now, something steady and private, try this. When doubt creeps in, place your feet flat on the ground, feel their weight, and remind yourself, I can choose what sustains me, even if it's uncomfortable. Because not every right decision feels good at first. Some feel firm, some feel sobering, some feel like finally setting something down after carrying it too far. And as this break takes shape, something subtle happens beneath the surface. Your energy stops scattering, your inner posture straightens, you're not happier yet, but you're no longer abandoning yourself. And that, quietly, profoundly, is where your strength begins to return. And once you stop fighting the pain, Aries, you start to notice what it's actually doing. It isn't here to break you. It isn't here to punish you for staying too long or caring too deeply. It's doing something far more precise and far more respectful. It's separating you, not in a dramatic way, not with force, but with clarity. This kind of pain doesn't tear things apart. It loosens the grip between you and what no longer belongs in your inner life. The expectations that stayed after their purpose ended, the roles you kept playing because you were good at them, the hopes that once felt alive but slowly turned heavy. What hurts isn't the letting go itself. What hurts is the honesty required to admit that you gave your best and that your best deserves to rest. There's a very adult kind of pain that comes from realizing you weren't naive, you weren't foolish, you weren't wrong to believe. You invested because you meant it. You stayed because your heart was real. And now, the ache you feel is the echo of that sincerity finally being acknowledged. I want to say something plainly, without poetry, without astrology language. It hurts because you didn't half try. That matters. People who never commit don't feel this kind of pain. People who stay on the surface don't experience this depth of sensation when things end or shift. This ache is the signature of someone who showed up fully, even when it was uncomfortable. I remember once feeling embarrassed by my own pain, like it meant I'd miscalculated something important. And then a friend said to me, very quietly, "It only hurts because you were all in." That sentence changed how I held myself. That's the invitation here for you. To stop treating this pain like evidence of a mistake and start recognizing it as proof of your capacity. Capacity to hope, capacity to commit, capacity to build something real with your energy. And here's the subtle shift that begins now. When pain is understood, it softens. Not immediately, but enough for you to breathe differently around it. Enough for you to stop blaming yourself for feeling it. Ask yourself something gently, without pressure. What would change if you honored this pain instead of trying to outgrow it as fast as possible? You don't need to answer. Just notice whether the question creates space instead of tension. Because the pain you're carrying right now isn't asking for resolution. It's asking for recognition. It's saying, I mattered here. And you did. This is not the pain of failure, it's the pain of transition. The pain of someone stepping out of a chapter with their dignity intact. The pain of a grown soul releasing something without needing to rewrite the past as a mistake. If you want one small, grounding thing to do, nothing symbolic, nothing performative, try this. When the ache shows up, don't rush to distract yourself. Stay with it for 10 slow breaths, not to fix it, just to let it know it's allowed to exist. Because when pain is seen for what it truly is, it stops trying to prove itself. And in that quiet recognition, something unexpected begins to happen. You start to feel less tangled, less defined by what you're leaving behind. Not lighter yet, but cleaner. And that clean space is what allows the next part of the story to take shape, without force, without urgency, and without you having to abandon yourself to get there. And somewhere inside that clean space, Aries, something subtle begins to shift. It doesn't announce itself as happiness. There's no rush of relief, no dramatic sense of arrival. What you notice first is something quieter, almost easy to miss. You breathe a little deeper without meaning to. Your shoulders drop when you're not paying attention. Sleep comes in heavier waves, the kind that don't ask questions before they take you under. It's not joy yet. It's less weight. And for someone like you, that difference matters more than you might expect. Because you've lived a long time carrying things tightly, decisions, responsibilities, emotional tension, believing that holding on was the same as being strong. So when that grip loosens, even slightly, your system doesn't celebrate, it recalibrates. You might catch yourself waking up and not immediately bracing for the day. You might notice that familiar voice of self-criticism losing some of its urgency. Not gone, just quieter. That's not an accident. It's what happens when you stop forcing yourself to stay aligned with something that's been draining you slowly. Your nervous system finally gets the message that it doesn't have to stay on alert all the time. There's a very human moment in this phase that no one really prepares you for. It's when you realize you're not thinking about the situation as much anymore, not because you've solved it, but because it no longer defines your internal weather. I remember noticing that once, sitting on the couch, doing absolutely nothing special, and thinking, I'm not replaying it in my head right now. That was the moment I knew something real had changed. This kind of peace isn't polished, it's uneven. Some days you still feel the ache, other days you feel oddly neutral. But underneath it all, there's a sense that you're no longer fighting yourself just to get through the day. And that matters more than feeling good. Because what's returning to you now isn't excitement, it's self-trust. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything or rush toward the next fix. The kind that lets you rest without guilt. For Aries, this is unfamiliar territory. You're used to momentum, intensity, motion. So when things slow internally, part of you might wonder if you're losing your edge. You're not. You're recovering it. Soft question for you. No pressure. A no right answer. What would it feel like to let this steadiness be enough for now without turning it into a problem to solve? Just notice how your body responds to that idea. If you want one small way to anchor this moment, try this tonight. Before you sleep, place a hand over your chest and name one thing you're no longer blaming yourself for. Just one. Nothing grand. Something true. Because this peace, this rough, unfinished calm, isn't the end of the story. It's the moment you stop carrying unnecessary weight into the next chapter. You're not lighter because everything is resolved. You're lighter because you stopped holding what was never meant to be carried forever. And in that quiet release, something inside you starts to stand taller, not louder, not faster, just more honest. Stay with this feeling. There's more clarity forming here than you realize. An achiever. And there's one more layer I want to sit with you in, Aries. Because this is where the loneliness you've been carrying quietly begins to loosen. You've always had a way of convincing yourself that strength means handling it alone. Not because no one would help you, but because asking feels heavier than carrying. Somewhere along the way, you learn to move forward without leaning, to process privately, to absorb impact without letting it show. But here's the truth I want to offer you, not as a cosmic idea, just as a human one. No one grows through something like this in isolation. They just think they do. There are people who have stood exactly where you're standing now, not in the same story, not with the same details, but with the same internal reckoning, the same quiet choice to stop pretending. And there are people who will recognize you when you step forward, not because you explain yourself perfectly, but because they've felt this shift in their own bodies before. If you're here, listening to this right now, it's not an accident. It means some part of you already knew you didn't want to do this alone anymore, even if you didn't have words for that yet. I want to say this clearly, as someone speaking directly to you. If you're still here, still listening, still breathing through this moment, then you are not alone. You never actually were. Connection doesn't always arrive as comfort. Sometimes it arrives as recognition, as the quiet relief of realizing that what you're experiencing has a name, a shape, a shared humanity. And this is where the reflection gently opens. You're not choosing the easy path right now. You're choosing the honest one. That matters. Not because honesty guarantees outcomes, but because it restores your relationship with yourself. You're no longer negotiating with discomfort just to keep things looking stable. You're no longer confusing endurance with loyalty to your own well-being. I've had moments like this where nothing externally changed yet, but something inside me sat down and said, "I'm done pretending." That was the moment my life stopped feeling like a performance I had to maintain. This is that kind of moment. So instead of asking whether everything will work out, try sitting with a different question, just softly, just for yourself. What would it feel like to trust this version of you, even without proof? No answers needed, just notice. Take a breath right now, slower than usual. Let your shoulders drop without forcing it. Let the silence do some of the work for you. You don't have to rush into clarity. You don't have to name the next chapter yet. You don't even have to feel hopeful. All you're doing, quietly, powerfully, is choosing truth over comfortable numbness, choosing presence over autopilot, choosing yourself without turning it into a spectacle. And that kind of change doesn't need a deadline. It arrives when it's ready, because it finally has space. Stay here with me for a moment longer. There's a deeper calm forming beneath the surface now, and whatever comes next will rise from a place that's far more honest than where you've been standing before. And before we part ways, Aries, let me leave you with something that hasn't been said yet, something small, but true. Sometimes the real shift isn't the decision you make. It's the moment you stop rehearsing who you need to be for everyone else. I've noticed this about people who go through changes like yours. They don't become louder afterward. They become quieter in a very specific way. They stop explaining themselves so much. They pause before answering. They listen to their own reactions instead of overriding them. That's not withdrawal. That's integration. Here's a gentle question to sit with. No pressure to solve it tonight. What part of you has been waiting for permission to rest? You don't have to decide anything today. You don't have to label what this means. Just notice what this journey stirred in you and what didn't need convincing. If you're willing, try this small inner practice after this video ends. Sit in silence for 1 full minute. No phone, no music. Place one hand on your chest, one on your stomach, and ask yourself, quietly, what feels more honest now than it did an hour ago? Then let the answer come. Or not. Both are okay. I'll share something personal before I go. Some of the most important changes in my life didn't arrive with confidence. They arrived with a calm tiredness, a knowing that I was done arguing with myself. Looking back, that was the beginning of everything real. If this spoke to you, you're welcome to leave a word, a symbol, or even just a period in the comments. Whatever feels right. Not to explain, just to mark that you were here with yourself. And if you feel called to stay, to listen again another day, to walk this slower path of awareness with me, subscribe in your own time. No rush. Trust yourself first. Let this rest with you. You'll feel it click when it's meant to. Until then, notice what gets quieter tonight.